Hi, I'm Ted from Everything Attachments, and we're today with our latest version of the Wicked Root Grapple for the compact tractors. This is the first grapple we started out with, and over the couple of years and hundreds of grapples, we've just made some slight changes, and we wanted to give you our final updated model on what we've got here for you. Right now, we're working with an opening that's 37¼ inches. And so for this size of grapple that's on this tractor, we think that that's the perfect size. We've got a few grapples that open more that are bigger and some smaller ones. But this is pretty much from a 25 to a 50 horsepower grapple, and this should give you the right amount of opening. We have found a few manufacturers that actually measure from the tip to the bottom side of the tine to make it look like their opening is larger, but this one is measured from the tip to tip, and it's 37¼ inches. So the other thing that's unique about the Wicked Grapple is that we match these points here at the very end where you're able to grip those fine and small things instead of bringing the lid in a few inches and letting them bottom out on the gusset that we don't have, and we'll explain that in just a little bit. We're using the industrial cast iron cylinders instead of aluminum. We're using the really big heavy-duty pipe fittings, and there's been debate over pipe fittings and JIC, of which I'm not getting into right now, other than the fact that we've had 100% great results on the pipe fittings. They're super solid. They're actually made in the United States right now, just because the quantity is a little bit lower. We use Loctite sealant, which seals perfectly every time, so we've had no problems. We've changed the greasing of these from greasing them down through the center, which kind of worked, but we're doing what a lot of the manufacturers are doing on really high quality implements, which is we're gun drilling the pin to the center with a 1/8 inch hole and then putting the grease fit and countersunk in the end where it's easy to get to and it greases exactly where you want it to. We've changed these center pieces here from 2 thin pieces and a little round bushing at each end to keep them together to 2 3/8 pieces that are solid. So you've got a 3/4 inch piece of solid steel here. Those are laminated together to make them extra strong. We've kept the hydraulic fittings back here with the swivels, and we'll go over that when we get it turned around. A couple of things that we've changed. At very first, when we were really trying to take all the weight out of it we were using 3/8 sides and 5/16 centers, and that was about a total of 8 pounds of savings. But trying to get the grade of steel that we use and be able to get it regularly and to not have to have extra steel lying around, the biggest problem was we couldn't get what we wanted in a 5/16. So we have changed all the tines to be the same to 3/8. So it's gained a few pounds, but it's possibly a little stronger, whether it needed to be or not, because we've never really bent one. But everything is 3/8. We've changed the steel around a little bit on these grapples. Everything out of Everything Attachments, we no longer use any A36. The least grade of metal that we have there is a A572 grade 50. Usually it's coming in the 60,000 tensile strength is usually the build sheets that we get when we get the steel in. So it's plenty strong enough. And the other piece is still the outside laminated piece here, which we use to spread to work like a gusset, but without having the gusset, that keeps you from being able to push the ends through the ground, is a grade 80 steel. And that's simply because we wanted to keep it thin and we wanted to keep it strong, and we didn't want to put those big wide V's in here that a compact tractor, and especially like in our red clay and so forth, just doesn't have the power to push through to get the roots out. And when you do it, it looks like it's been plowed instead of just where you've got the ridges through the ground that's gotten the limbs and roots that you want out of the ground without having to do all that disturbing of your ground. So we have made it open a little wider. We've added some straps on the back, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So this is our very last or latest version of this grapple. So a couple of the people on Tractor by Net had requested everything from expanded metal or something across the back to be able to keep the limbs and so forth from coming through, hitting the radiator in your tractor. Eric on Tractor by Net, really nice guy. His grapple actually came, he has a Coyote, I believe it is, where it has the one latch system. And he actually, his grapple, because the stick had come through, it unlatched his grapple, and it almost, it did fall off the tractor, and he could have lost his grapple into a fire. But so we've added these strips back here. What we did was we cut a 3/16 by 1/2 inch notch. Depending on the size grapple, this has 3 straps, some have 4. The bigger one that we're building right now may possibly have 5. But we didn't want to put them in long ways. We wanted to put them because it would weaken the metal, cutting them in too far. As you can see, we're only putting them between the hitches. Now this, I think, is a 60-inch grapple, comes in a 72. So you would possibly have a tine or two that doesn't have this extra piece on it because there's no real reason to protect it over here. And since we cut them all out the same, you're going to end up with some that still have the notches. Now that is cut with a laser, and it's not just cut completely square, because when you have a square corner, it actually makes a place that's an easy place for it to tear or crack. So even though it's a very small radius, there is a radius in those corners to keep it from cracking and so forth and make it stronger. The hitch here, everything is put together with tabs and tangs where we can put everything together to keep them precision as possible. And these are on an angle. So when you put your pad in here at halfway, and then as you raise up and go into the full pocket, it will self-center the grapple to make it easier for you to get into it where it's wider and make it fit tighter at the top once you're fully into it. This is what I really wanted to show back here. On these Parker hoses here that we're using, and with the pipe fittings, we're using an actual swivel here, which has O-rings and so forth in it. So when the lid comes up and down, it lets these hoses twist without binding them up. These hoses will outlast a hose that is being twisted like that many times over. It's about $5 extra a piece for those fittings, and that's $20, and we just do it because it simply makes it better. We also add, with those swivels up here, we're able to put this hose saver spring kit on here. I'll move this to the other side. And I've got these hooked together so we can raise and lower the lids without them airlocking. So when this is hooked to the tractor, those swivels are, without doing any stretching or twisting of these hoses, these swivels are letting this come all the way down to here to allow us to put shorter hoses on here for your tractor to where they're not getting pinched and so forth, just because I'm having to give you more hoses to get between there when you're fully dumped. It brings the hoses up and out of the way, makes a really neat short connection. If you've got a Kubota that has a factory installed by your dealer, quick attach, it possibly has the outlets up on this boom, the main rail, which is pretty far away, instead of your torque tube in the middle. And if you have that, you need to let us know where we can add some length to these to make it right for you, or if there's some other reason you need some length, just let us know. It's no problem to custom make your hoses. But the rails back here, expanded metal, if you get it thick enough to really do any good, it starts making a visual problem to see through. A lot of people say, well, why don't you make it solid? But you can't see anything. As an operator, I've used this stuff, and the number one thing that I want to be able to do is see what I'm doing. So I put as much on there as I thought I could see through well and would still do a pretty good job from keeping the limbs coming through and possibly being able to unhook your quick attach, or from coming through and getting your radiator. It's not going to get 100% of everything, but it's going to get a lot of it, and it's not going to restrict your view much. So I think we've really gotten something good there. This one is your standard universal skid steer quick hitch. We do also offer it with the John Deere quick hitch, and we do some custom Kubota mounts and a few others upon request at a small additional charge. So what we do here is we use a common pin that goes all the way through this lid here. Now instead of pipe, we're using a drawn over mechanical tubing, a DMO. It's about 4 times as expensive, but it allows the pin and the tube, which becomes the hinge, to be a much tighter tolerance. It's a much better tube up here. It makes the lid a lot more rigid. And this pin, by being the full length, just gives everything a lot more strength and keeps us from having to put the double mounts up here, double pins and so forth. They're both greased right here on the middle of the tube where you can grease that easily. So we've had a great success with the Wicked Grapples at Everything Attachments. I think it's one of our biggest selling items that we've had. We've got 2 more models to build. We just built one for the mega compacts, which is what, compacts used to end about 50 horsepower. Now they're going up to 65 or so. So we came up with a whole nother grapple just for them that's bigger in size. The utility tractor also uses that. And then we are also building one for large tractors. And we've already built that. We've got it getting ready to be shown. And then we're going to be building the one for the 200 horsepower tractors, which is more of a farm grapple that can do all your brush and things like that the farmer might need. Also, it'll be shaped to pick up a round bell to where he can carry 2 bells at one time, one from the front, one from the back. We're real proud to put our logo on here. We either put EA or put Wicked on it because we're here at Everything Attachments. It's our brand. With these teeth that we're using here, they're laser cut, and I've used these things a lot in the last 2 years since we came out with them. And then I've used a few other grapples in demos, and there's just a huge difference. Once you get used to these teeth, it's hard to go back to a regular grapple because you get used to just being able to lift up a log and be able to pull it out of a pile or something without it just pulling away from it. So I really like the laser cut teeth, and as you'll see, instead of having that big V-shaped gusset, which most of them have, it just has a very slight bend right here, but it's strong enough with that grade 80 steel that it doesn't bend, and it allows you to go through the ground. So here at Everything Attachments, we've really concentrated a lot of our time and effort on our grapple line. We've got more coming, and we hope with the new rails and everything that this pretty much completes this grapple and makes us the best on the market, especially the best value per dollar delivered to you. Give us a call or an email at Everything Attachments, and we'll be happy to help you.